this is Mr. Frank again, and we are working on the project bench. At this point in time, we should have our bench legs, all of our parts. We should have them assembled into a drawing file, or an assembly file, I'm sorry. And then we're going to work on a drawing file, which will look similar to this. So how do we get to this point? Right here. We're going to go ahead and go up to New. We're going to go to the standard.idw. If you were in my 6th grade class, we did this with our dragsters. So we're going to create that, and we're going to change the size of this page. I'm going to right-click on Sheet. We're going to edit that to size A paper so we can print these off on our printer. And we're going to go ahead and delete this right here so we have this blank page to work with. So I'm going to find my base. Now, right now, it automatically popped up for me, and that's great. I'm going to go ahead and if it doesn't pop up for you, you might have to search and open an existing file and search for whatever file or wherever you may have saved it. Right now I'm going to talk about scale for a second. So you see our bench is on this paper, and if I drop down here, I can look if we did full size, full scale, 1:1. That's how big our bench is compared to our sheet of paper. So that does not work. So we're going to need to scale this down. I just wanted to show you this is a normal 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper. We're going to have it on there. If I go to half scale, that's half the size, still does not fit. Fourth, it fits on our paper, but we're going to put what's called an orthographic view or multi-view drawing on this page, along with an isometric view of our bench. So that doesn't necessarily work either. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm kind of giving you an answer here, but the 1/8 scale, if we scale it down to 1/8 of the original size, works pretty well. Now you can see there's a box following me around here, and that's going to be helpful in just a second. I'm going to move this down to my bottom left-hand side. This is the front view of our bench. Now, if this is not coming up as the front view, we can go to our bench assembly, and we can actually reset front view. So right now, this is my front view. If this is becoming your front view, you can, if it says front right here, you can right-click, you can go to the view that you want it to be the front view, right-click on this view cube, and you can set current view as front. Because that gives us, our front view, we should always have the most detail on. So there's the most detail on that front view, and that's what we are wanting. So there we go. It's right there. I'm going to now, I can just move this up, straight up, not to the side or anything, just straight up, and click. That's my top view, top of the bench. Now if I click OK right here, from our previous lessons, we should have a front view, we should have a top view, and we should have a side view, then the isometric view up here. If I misclick something and I don't get everything done in one job, I can click Project right here, Projected, click on the item I want projected, and it brings me back here again. So I can project it, project my side view right there, and then I can project my isometric view right there. It's wanting me to place other things, but I can just click right-click that and hit Create. So now I've got my top, my front, and my side view of our bench, which is working pretty good. But I don't know the size of anything. So what we're going to have to do is add dimension lines. When we dimension an object, and when you get into your high school drafting class, you're going to learn a lot more about dimensioning objects. But for our purposes in 7th grade here, we're going to just get familiar and see what they are. My role is to give as much information as possible to have me build this. So if I looked at your drawing, I could build this. So if I go up to Annotate, I can start dimensioning. So one of the big dimensions I probably want is how wide this actually is, at 36 inches. Click OK. Or how big that is, 11 inches. Something that might be useful is the diameter of our circles. Try right there. Or how big that gap is right there. Oh, not that. I gotta go up to dimension. There we go. So what's the radius of that? Or what's the radius of this arc we would have? Those are things you could do on there. Essentially, I need something that looks similar to this. So after that's all done, that tells us what we need for our project. Second part of this is going to be creating a presentation file. So this is something, the .ipn, that we didn't do in 6th grade. We're going to click on that. I'm going to open up the bench assembly. And this is kind of cool because we get to create a video of all of our parts going together. So in this video, and how we're going to do this, go ahead and start this over again. Pull this up here. A new file, drawing file, bench assembly. And I'm going to exit out of this, rotate this around a little bit. And we're going to be clicking this tweak component. Basically disassembling everything on our bench. So I could move the top part of this up. I could move this part, grabbing these arrows up. So we see all of our parts and how they go together. Move that out. Move this out. Go ahead and do that same thing over here. Same thing over here. So we're exploding our project. And then when we click the play button here, everything's going to start going back together to our actual project. It's kind of cool. So you can play around with this if you would like, but we do need to at least have this file completed. There it is. It's all together. So you can play around with the presentation file. There's some cool things to do here. But we're going to go back to our drawing file and create a new one. And again, we're going to make sure the sheet is, delete it, we're going to make sure it's right size. So we have to edit it. Size A. And I am going to place this exploded view in here. Which is kind of cool. You can see all the parts there. And I need to make sure I save things. There we go. And there we go. Now the part I want to teach you here is how to create a parts list. So we've got a parts list here, and that's going to go with our bench. And now I have to click OK. And I can create a parts list right here. So it says bench legs. Well, I have 4 parts of it. I have 2 bench tops and 2 bench sides. That's cool. So I can identify these by ballooning them. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to click there, continue. So this shows me all of the parts we'll need. That one's hard to see over there, but I'm going to go ahead and mark it. So again, we're learning some new parts of this project. Now I think I want this colored, so I can go in here and edit that view and change that. Click that button right there. There we go. So now I've got a ballooned parts list. We've got all our pieces. And essentially the next thing we need to do is get down into the wood shop and make these benches, which should be pretty fun.